Well, I saved my pennies and I saved my dimes. Giddy up, 409. Before I knew there would be a time. Giddy up, 409. When I would buy a brand new 409. 409. Giddy up, 409.
Welcome to the Car Guy channel. I say it all the time. We have an exciting show. We have a fantastic, exciting show. Show you a car out of my collection. I'm going to go ahead and be displaying through all the shows in the area. And one of the neat things is showing another one of our finished projects that are coming out of the shop. I'm telling you, having a 4-speed Cougar and a 4-speed SC Rambler Scrambler, I'm telling you, that makes the whole show. Sit back, get yourself a cold one, and enjoy the show. Let alone some great cars of the week we got to show you this episode, but I'm going to tell you some neat things about these cars. This particular car is like a couple of those other episodes. They are finished projects. And when you do a finished project, it just makes you feel really, really good. This has been a long-term project. We're going to show you some pictures here, a little bit about the car before we actually got it. A really, really good friend of mine, Tony, is partnered with this car, Bill. Bill actually is the original owner of this particular Cougar, and these guys teamed up next door neighbors. They sat down at the coffee table and said, we're gonna do that Cougar. Take a look at some of these pictures. You're gonna see of the before, and of course this right here is the after. Being a 1967 Mercury Cougar, I think it's a fascinating car to do. The tough part about doing these that Bill and Tony probably ran into was parts availability. There are some parts that only Cougar only, and they mixed with Ford, of course, because Mercury and Lincoln Mercury and Ford were kind of the same company, of course. They came with different engine packages. So Bill, when he bought this car brand new, he ordered this car being a 390, 4-speed, and a GT. But when we get to the motor compartment, this is where I think this car here really excels, because when we sat down one time, we sat down and said, we want to build the 390, we want originals we possibly could, but I think we're going to go a little bit different and a little bit of performance. We will talk to Bob Grom, picked out a special cam for this car. This car here is the Stellite valves, the hardened seats in the heads. We built the short block and it came out really spectacular. Put an aluminum water pump in here. It is a Holley 4-barrel from the factory, and getting some certain little pieces on the carburetor to make sure they're regionally for Cougar, that was a little bit of a challenge. The challenge really was breaking open Tony's wallet. So we got the wallet open and we found the right part. And we put it in the carburetor, and it came out really, really nice. Take a look at underneath the hood of this car. It's just spectacular. And because it's a low production car for the 390 performance with 335 horsepower, that air cleaner is rare as hen's teeth. To get an air cleaner like this for the car, I'm telling you, it just makes it. And it was pretty neat to do an original car that had everything on it. When this car came to us, we see from the photos, this was a complete car. Doing a complete car makes our job a lot easier. But check this out. I think Estelle could get some pretty good shots of it. And the options that this Cougar has is something I think a lot of cars got to have. It has power steering, makes this car here very drivable. There weren't too many made without power steering, but they are out there. And so to add power steering would be very difficult. But for the 390 motor, we got power steering, we got power brakes, and that's pretty about as much as far as options on the car, besides being a GT package. Check out under the hood. I think you'd be pretty impressed. I cannot wait to tell you all about this 1969 Rambler. This right here is an SC Rambler, and we're going to talk about what all that stuff, how it became the SC Rambler. These are absolutely spectacular. I don't want to say they're a sleeper car. This right here, 1969, was probably really unappreciated because people didn't really understand the car. Collectors now are going after these like wildfire. They didn't make very many of them. When Rambler started to put the car in the market, they designed this car for drag racing. They were promoting drag racing. That's what they went ahead and did with the car. So when Rambler got a hold of a company called Hearst, the Hearst Shifters, Hearst Performance Division, and said, we'd like to get together with you and help us build a car for drag driving. I'm telling you, Hearst jumped out of their chair and said, we're all the way in. What can we do? So they went ahead and designed a car, and this right here is the SC Rambler. The S stands for super, and the C stands for car. So you got SC Rambler and the Hearst edition. Let's go over all this car from soup to nuts. I think you're going to love it. Fantastic. Now, there were actually two color combinations for these. There's one that actually has the full red on the side, white with the stripe, and there's one that is solid white. Then those are the two main color combinations. They thought that only cars that had the first 500 had this theme. No, that's not totally true. They really did mix up the color combinations when the cars were sold. It's really a neat way to go. This is just spectacularly original car. I love original stuff. I always say in the show, cars only original once. A few things I know we need to do to this car is put a water pump on it. Some things are not factory in here. It has MSD ignition, which is really not a real big deal to change around, but the air cleaner has the right air cleaner, so it has the air induction. We'll show you on the hood in a bit. There's really, when you buy one of these cars, there are no options. There are zero options on these cars. The only thing they really had to offer for these cars was an AM radio, and that was really about it. They actually came with power brakes, and they have no power steering. These cars right here are meant to go down the straight line. And what they did with this particular motor, it's a 390 cubic inch engine, AMC Motors, American Motor Corporation. That's what this motor's a 390, and it produces 315 horsepower. That was just astonishing for this car because it can do a quarter mile. When it pulled up, some people giggled and laughed, and all of a sudden, sometimes the laughs went to a frown because this car right here could do 14-second quarter mile back in 1969. That was considered fantastic for a factory car coming off the assembly line. But they went ahead and made some changes. We'll talk about some of those changes as we go through. But I'm telling you, this is spectacular the way it is under the hood. You can just tell it's all original. It's a one-piece car, and it is an original Hurst SC Rambler.
Well, I saved my